Keep Nintendo weird, everybody, for the first time in 2022. Happy 2022. Yay. I know it's like, what? By the time you're listening to this, it's like February already now somehow, but I have missed you guys so much. I've missed making this show, and it's been a little bit crazy. There have been a lot of changes, and actually there are a lot of changes to talk about with this show, which we'll get into. But yeah, I hope you've all been doing well. I'm trying to think of where to start here. First of all, you might notice things look a little bit different. I got some lights, some fancy lights. We got some lights to kind of go with a Twitch overlay. My office is still far from being set up. It's still a total mess in here. But, if you're watching the video version, you'll see some lights now. You'll see things kind of looking a little bit more slick and clean, I hope. Another big change that we're doing to keep Nintendo weird, starting right here, right now with this episode, is we're going to be live streaming the recordings of Keep Nintendo Weird over on twitch.tv/allnpodcast. And you'll find links to that, of course, in the episode description or down below if you're watching on YouTube. And we just hit Twitch affiliate, which is really exciting. So if you're already a Twitch follower, thank you so much for your support. And if you're not followed already, then what are you waiting for? Head on over there, give us the follow, or you can sub to us now. You can give us a sub, and I'm working on all of that. And we're streaming live. I'm streaming stuff all the time over there, up to and including live recordings of Keep Nintendo Weird. So that's super exciting. That's something that people have wanted me to do for a little while now. And so I was like, you know what? Why not? Let's try it out. Let's see how it works. And this is all kind of a big experiment. Keep Nintendo Weird, really, in general, is an experimental show. It's a show that it's my baby, and I want to try new and exciting things with it. And so when people threw out the live stream idea, I was like, you know what? Let's try it out. So today we're hanging out with CJ Andriessen again, who was on our part-time UFO episode. And during that episode, you might remember CJ name-dropped a game called Pocket Card Jockey, which made me freak out. And I knew that whenever it was going to be time to do a Pocket Card Jockey episode, I was going to have CJ back. Well, that time is now. We're talking Pocket Card Jockey, and I'm so excited about that. It's one of my favorite 3DS games. We are it's kind of funny because we recorded this episode again live on Twitch, but we also were probably the only people talking about this Game Freak game as opposed to the other big Game Freak game that is out there right now. Of course, referring to Pokemon Legends Arceus, which I've also been playing and having a really good time with, but that's a different thing. So yeah, we're trying out the live thing for KNW. Now, I will say, and you guys will hear this as we get into the episode, we had some kind of weird issues with either Twitch. I guess it was Twitch, because I was hearing CJ just fine in my headphones, but then on the Twitch stream, which is where the audio is taken from, CJ kind of had like some lag. I don't know if it was on Twitch's end or what happened there, but you will notice CJ's audio does sound a little off. I kind of played with it and touched it up in post a little bit, but there's just, there's not much I can do about that. We just had some weird latency issues that caused the audio to get a little bit jumbled, but it's still it's a great episode and a great conversation. It's not like it broke the episode or anything, or that it's like unlistenable or anything like that. CJ's great as always, and I think you guys are going to really dig the episode. And just a special game, and a game that you can still currently pick up, which is really exciting. Pocket Card Jockey, so we have a lot to say about it. I'm not going to ramble on too much more. I will just say, again, 5-star reviews, something that is really, really important to visibility for this show, especially as we move forward. We're trying out these new crazy experiments like live streaming and everything, and we're trying new stuff, and we're going to see we're throwing spaghetti at the wall, and we're seeing what sticks, man. So I appreciate you all and love you all, and I thank you so much for coming along with me on this ride. Yeah, like I said, maybe it'll be something that succeeds fantastically. Maybe it's something that will blow up in our face. Maybe we won't do many more live streamed episodes. Maybe it's something that we'll do from now on. I don't know. Let me know how you like it. Definitely tune into the live recordings. And follow the @KNW podcast on Twitter, which is where I announce all of that stuff before it happens. And anyway, I'm not going to ramble on too much more, guys. I felt like I had more I wanted to talk to you about, but I think that's really the gist of it. We're not going to delay anymore. We are going to welcome CJ back to the show. We're going to talk and gush about just loving Pocket Card Jockey, and as always, for the first time in 2022, we're going to keep Nintendo weird. Great. Hey, CJ, welcome back to the show, my friend.
Glad to be here. Thanks for having me back.
And thank you so much, by the way, for agreeing to do this thing live. You're a brave man. I appreciate you for sinking and swimming with me, whatever ends up happening.
yeah. I figured it'd be a fun way to, really loosen up the show, maybe loosen up my podcasting skills, or just say something really offensive that gets me canceled. One of the two.
Well, if twitch.tv/allinpodcast is the perfect way to do that, CJ. No, it's a treat to have you back, and I'm really excited to talk about this game. We've already got folks in the chat coming through. Thank you all so much for being here. It's so exciting to do this show live for the first time. It's a big experiment. We're gonna see what happens. I don't know, man. Maybe it's gonna blow up in our face. Maybe it's gonna be great. But whatever happens, we're all in it together. We're all in this together, as they say. CJ. You've been on the show before, but for folks who may not be familiar with you, kind of introduce yourself to the audience a little bit, if you would. Where might folks know you from?
Okay, I am an editor-at-large with Destructoid.com, which I have been writing there for, I think we're going on 7 years this March.
Wow.
Yeah, no, a really long time, and I generally have a system where I quit my job every 3 years because I just get bored of it. So for me to still be around after 7 years surprises me every single time when I hit that March anniversary. Like, wow, I'm still writing here. I've been writing here this long. Jeez. and this game is a good reminder that we're talking about today, because it was one of the first games I reviewed, and I didn't review games for most of my first year. So it's just like, I have to remember that this came out in 2016, and I started it a year before that. So it's just a lot of reminders of how long I've been at Destructoid. I used to host Podtoid. We brought it back for a few years. But yeah, that's basically where anyone would probably know me from. Just my time there.
Nice. Wow. That's been a long time. I knew that you had reviewed Pocket Card Jockey for Destructoid, but I didn't realize that was one of your first reviews. How cool is that? I guess kind of like walk me through that, because I normally like to start with kind of the origin stories of how we are introduced to these weird Nintendo games anyway. Like, how did Pocket Card Jockey come across your desk? Was that just one that you were assigned to? Like, how did that come about?
No, it's definitely one that I went for. I believe, if I remember correctly, it was announced, and I was immediately in love with the art design, and I love the concept of horse racing, but I hate actual horse racing. I think it's a mean thing to do to horses,
right?
Especially when they break the leg and you have to execute them right on the track. But I love the concept of horse racing, and so you have this trailer with these really cute horses coming through, and I think it released in Japan before, and so I was paying attention to it back then. But when we got the review code come through, our reviews editor, Chris Carter, just sent it my way. I'm like, yes, 100%, I'll be right on this. So yeah, I was excited to try it out to see what it is, and did not realize what was in store for me. Just did not realize how much this game was going to take over my life.
Yeah, well, yeah, I think that's the common thread, because CJ, and I'm sure you've encountered this, we are one of maybe 10 people who have played this game. It is a supremely underrated 3DS game, and it's the common thread, though, with everybody that I've talked to about Pocket Card Jockey is everybody is like, I cannot believe how addicting this is. This weird concept is so supremely addicting. So, if you would, CJ, set the stage of that concept for us. If it's a super actually deep game, and we have a lot to get into here today, but at root, what is Pocket Card Jockey?
I mean, the best way to describe it is horse racing and solitaire. Like those
Yeah.
are the two main components of what you're going to be doing here. And so basically, you're playing as you're playing as a jockey who dies within the first 5 minutes of the game.
Yes.
Just gets trampled to death, is dead, is a loser, gets a second chance to come back. And learns a new horse racing skill, which is a very, very simplified form of solitaire. I believe there's an official name for it, but I can't remember what it's
It's
called.
golf, I think. Yeah.
That may be what it is, but it's basically you're just trying to remove all of the cards from the deck, from the board before either time runs out or before you run out of cards and can't do it anymore. So like you'll start with a 2, and from a 2 you can go to an ace or a 3, and then from there you can go to like a 3 or back to a 2 or a 4, and you just kind of count up and down as much as you can, trying to clear all the cards from the plate. I think there's an official word for that. I can't remember, and I think it starts with a P. It's definitely in my review because I remember Googling it beforehand. But then you clear the cards, and if you are successful enough in clearing the cards, your horse, which at this point is running the race, will get a little bit of boost of power, and it will be either put in a good mood if you clear all the cards, or it'll be put in a bad mood if you don't clear all the cards. And the more cards left, the worse mood the horse gets into, and that's a whole nother mechanic. And then between these rounds of playing solitaire, you actually move your horse on the track using the stylus, trying to find the best point for it to be in to gain a lot of power. And you have to keep watch of where the best area is, because it moves between each round that they run. And then you have the other horses on the track that will gladly run into you and knock your butt to the back of the pack, thus screwing up whatever strategy you had. And then after that, you go right back into playing solitaire. And so you switch between those like 2 to 3 times, or 1 to 2 times, depending on how short or long the race is, before you get into this the last straightaway. And here, it's whatever energy you have left, you're putting it into your horse to try and get over that finish line first. It is a lot. It's a lot to consider, and I'm sure that description to anyone who hasn't played it just confused the heck out of them. But once you get into it, it just all coalesces into something that is perfect.
Yeah. It's Pocket Card Jockey is a game that sounds more complicated than it actually is.
Absolutely.
It's really not a like everything that you just described about it is true. We have a couple people here that say CG's audio sounds sort of a bit robotic. Not sure if it's a latency thing. It may be. Maybe that'll kind of smooth out as the as it goes as the stream goes along. I'm not sure, but he sounds good on my end. I don't know. We'll see what happens. This is all live to tape, folks. We'll see what happens. I'll try to fiddle with a few things. Yeah, it's a Pocket Card Jockey is a very complicated game that makes its systems very cleanly and simply laid out in a way that just makes sense. It's a solitaire game, but it's a simplified version of solitaire. Like you said, it's you can move cards up or down in kind of bilateral direction, as you were talking about. If you have a 3, you can put that on a 2 or a 4, and it's all about kind of clearing that out, making your horse happy, performing better in the race. But then even on top of that, there's this whole system of your horse's growth, and then stabling the horses, breeding the horses to make an even better horse. And there's really no end to the game. It can just go and go and go.
Yeah, I mean, you have a bunch of races you're supposed to win and get trophies for, and that's, I think, the main goal of the game. But you are right. You can just keep going. You can just keep raising horses. There's what is it? It's growth mode, and I can't remember the other one, but it's career mode. And so basically in growth mode, you'll have your horse for 2 years of its life, and you'll run a bunch of races. And in this This is where you'll gain a bunch of XP and you'll raise its level. There are certain cards you can collect while running the race that if you clear from the tableau, that's the word I can think of, it will add it will help raise your horse's level, and you can learn skills. Like the horse can become someone who, has a good heart, or is a leader of the pack, someone who does really well at the front of the pack. Versus if they're anywhere behind, you can get a horse that's really good out of the starting gate, which is still the most infuriating part of this game to me. Is that when you start a race, it's a very small version of the solitaire that you play. You only have 10 seconds, and you have to be as fast as you possibly can to find the card with the most energy in it to give you the best jump off the gate. And it is still the part of the game that frustrates me because I'm just so bad at it, trying to do it in 10 seconds. But so you raise your horses, you get these skills through growth mode, and then you go to, let's just call it professional mode because I can't think of the real name for it. And this is where you're trying to, this is where you see how good the horse you raised is, and you have to. As soon as you lose 3 races and anything not first place is considered a loss. It's the Ricky Bobby method.
Yeah.
Then you send your horse to pasture, and you start breeding it to create a new horse. So, I hate using this term because I know this is thrown around a lot today, but there's a roguelike charm to it.
Yes,
based
there definitely
on
is.
How much random stuff you have to encounter and how no 2 runs are really ever going to be the same.
Right. Yeah. No 2 runs are going to be the same. And there's also a little bit of inherent, when you're talking about solitaire, right, there's a little bit of inherent randomness to it as well. You're always going to, and there's definitely going to be some frustration, right, when it's like you're not getting the card that you want or that you need, that's definitely a thing. But I do think that just like there's something elegant in that. There's a certain charm to just the over the topness and the sort of like not caring necessarily about realism or, as you mentioned, the game opens with the main character getting trampled to death, and then being like brought back by a like horse racing angel, and like it's bizarre. And there's this gachapon robot that you buy puzzle pieces from, and it's bizarre and over the top, and it's wonderful. And this game, by the way, CJ, I think that we are the only 2 people on planet Earth right now who are talking about a Game Freak game that is not Pokemon.
Yeah, it's a perfect weekend to have this episode.
Yes, that's exactly why I was like, let's do Pocket Card Jockey on the Pokemon Legends Arceus weekend. Let's do that. Because this game, for those that don't know, is made by Game Freak, the Pokemon people. And they've done actually a couple of like little offshoot games, and I always love it when they do, because the Pokemon, or Game Freak rather, have this really like wonderful sense of just like interesting design and kind of over the top wackiness. I think of games like, I love Drill Dozer on GBA.
Brilliant game.
It's a brilliant game that I think is just part and parcel of what I'm talking about. Harmonite, also on 3DS, another brilliant game. Both of these games are on the Keep Nintendo Weird list. We're absolutely going to cover them at some point. And then you got something like Pocket Card Jockey, and it's like, man, like there is so much more to this studio than just Pokemon. And the last time we had you here, we talked about another game that was kind of like this with Part-Time UFO and HAL. And so I just find that so interesting. That's something I think about a lot. Kind of what these bigger studios would do if they were let off the leash a little bit. If the reins were loosened, to go with a horse pun, I guess. I
mean, I would love to know the story of how they were able to create this game, and Harmonite, and Drill Dozer, and is it Tembo the Badass Elephant? I think that's another one. I don't think that one came to a Nintendo console, which always sad. But you're right. You have this studio that is known for one franchise, and they're constantly working on it because Nintendo released a infographic yesterday that had all of the mainline Pokemon games that included Arceus. So it's just for people who are wondering. But you look at it, and it's like this is a studio that has more or less released a game a year.
Right.
It's basically Call of Duty. for
Right.
how often we get games out of the series. Um, how do they find the time to break off and do these little side projects? Like, is this just a palate cleanser for some of them? Because it's as you said, it's interesting that you have this studio that is so known for one thing that then breaks off and does this incredibly creative different thing. That is like, this is like, how long have they been sitting on this idea? How long has this been in their back pocket of wanting to try this, to pull this
Right.
out? So I'm endlessly fascinated because I don't really think of I don't really think of Game Freak as a developer, like because they're just a Pokemon company for me. But then when I get these other games, I'm just like, gosh, I wish I could see what else they would do. Like
Yes.
maybe take another year off of Pokemon and just do something interesting, something crazy, something incredible.
Yeah,
Because
dude.
Pocket Card Jockey is incredible.
Yes, and it's for me. I'm like, I would take something like this, over the next Pokemon game. Not that I don't love Pokemon, and Arceus has been fun so far and whatnot. I don't want to like yuck anybody's yum or whatever, but I think about that all the time. I'm like, how many developers have stuff like this sitting in their back pocket, where they're just like, man, if only we could be more than just the Pokemon people, we could release something like Pocket Card Jockey. And, to speak to the spirit of this show, I mean, good on Nintendo for fostering that and for being like, hey, yeah, go ahead and do that, and here's our platform, and have fun. I think Pocket Card Jockey, especially on 3DS, another thing that's nice about Pocket Card Jockey is, because of the nature of the game, it is so pick up and play. Like,
Yeah.
it's the perfect pick up and play game. It's the perfect like airplane companion, work commute companion. Just go in there, do a race. Like, it's perfect for that. It's brilliant.
Before the show, to like kind of refamiliarize myself with the game, I did like 2 races with my horse, Chatty B. That's what I called her. But on Wednesday, I decided like I wanted to familiarize myself with this more, so I opened it and was just like, I'll just play a couple of races. 3 hours later, the battery light on my 3DS is blinking.
Yes.
I'm just like, where did that time go? What happened? This is this type of game that you can put on, and because the game, the loop is so quick and short, you just keep going. It's so easy to just keep playing because it's fun, and there's a lot of random chance to it that can be aggravating to some people. I know when I reviewed it, that was a complaint that a lot of people had, is that they didn't like that they couldn't be in total control, that they, there's
Right.
all those elements, especially the other horses, that can completely ruin whatever plan you have. But I always thought that's part of the fun, and
Yeah.
it definitely takes a lot for me, it takes a lot of the stress out of losing, to know that, well, it wasn't my fault.
Yes.
No way I could predict that horse coming down to smack me to the back. So, but yeah, just lost 3.5 hours of my life. Side note: why is the battery on the new 2DS so bad? 3.5 hours? That's all I get a
Right.
Pocket Card Jockey.
Yeah, out
Like
of a
if
game
I
like Pocket Card Jockey, it's not Breath of the Wild. Like,
yeah, if I were playing the Xenoblade Chronicles 3D, I could understand that. But come on, Pocket
sure.
Card Jockey.
Yeah, really? Come on now. Yeah, no, I got you. It is kind of interesting. Because that has happened to me many, many times where I'm like, okay, I'm playing this, I'm having a great time, and then yeah, the battery light comes on, time to charge. It's like, come
Yeah.
on, really? That was happening to me. I had a very similar experience to you because I popped back in there for the first time in God years. This past week, just to kind of refamiliarize myself before recording this. And yeah, same thing. I sat there and played until my battery was dying, and it's just so immediately addicting. And there's just something about those systems that all feed to each other really well. I mentioned there is kind of like an economy to the game because there are a couple of different goals in the game that are kind of like ever present. One of them is kind of building your ultimate horse, I suppose, like by nature of like breeding and stuff,
Mhm.
and kind of retiring these horses that you've bred and done all these races with, and increase their stats and made them happier and stuff like this. And then you kind of breed those horses into a kind of super horse, and then the loop just goes on and on and on. And in addition to that, there are things, there's like a shop. I mentioned the gachapon robot earlier that sells you puzzle pieces that also give your horse different benefits. And there's like, rewards, like cash rewards for beating these races. And that all feeds into, I think, a really kind of addictive loop there. I guess we're just going full on with the horse puns, but the carrot on a stick in this game is really incredible, and it's always there.
Yeah, and it's definitely one of the most tantalizing things is when you're going through a race and your trainer's like, "You've never won this before," and I'm just like, "Ooh, is this going to be the time that I'm finally going to win?" And on Wednesday, I think I got 2 trophies I never got before. So it's like, hey, I was able to pull off those victories. But you are right with the breeding of the super horse kind of being more or less like the main goal of
Right.
raising these horses through growth mode, putting them out there, retiring them, and then breeding them, because you're combining their elements, you're combining their levels of their strengths and weaknesses, and that's how you make the better horses. So I was never really good at choosing the good breedings. I kept getting the warning that this will lead to inbreeding, which, by the way, is a possibility in this game, and it's not a good end result for that. You'll have high-tempered horses, but I mostly relied on the horses that were brought to me by the different owners, the eclectic owners that you get to jockey for here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Those characters, there's I try to kind of like piece where there's a certain vibe to this game that's kind of like Rhythm Heaven-ish, like just that sort of eccentric, colorful. The art even kind of looks a little bit like Ko Takeuchi's art. Like, it just has this like cutesy, and the characters, the different owners, and they're so eclectic. And all the characters in this game are great and eclectic. There's a little bit of weirdness. There's a little bit of like, this game has caught some flack for example, you can choose to play male or female, and I think the female's motivation when you play is like to get married and have babies, like literally.
Yeah.
And that's not so great.
Yeah, and the boys is to, like, I think take over his dad's farm or something like that, and it's just like, why make those different at all in the first place?
Right.
But yeah, to go to have the females be, I want to be a wife.
Right.
Nothing wrong with being a wife, by the way. Just throwing that out there.
Of course.
Yeah.
But it's like that kind of stuff. It's like, okay, that's a little bit goofy. Why'd you go there with that? Just make them the same motivations. Who cares? It would have been easier on you too. But but then there's a couple of like little like head scratchers in there. You mentioned the inbreeding thing is a little bit like, that's a thing we can deal with, huh? In this cutesy Nintendo game. But yeah, there's a certain vibe to this game that I find really attractive. There's when you're talking about these weird Nintendo games, there's just a certain vibe to it. It's a pleasant place to be in, and I like the way the horses are all designed. And there's something about when because the races are kind of like broken up into phases. You've got as you mentioned, you've got your kind of like starting phase where you have just a few seconds to quickly get a burst of energy to kind of like start out with. Then you've got like the core solitaire or golf or whatever it is, like simple solitaire, that core gameplay where you're building up energy and you're building up your horse's temperament, trying to make it enthusiastic. And and then you bring that into the kind of like final, stretch of the race. And that's where you're kind of burning. You're actually controlling your horse for the first time in that moment. And I don't know. There's something kind of like when you see your horse like really going at it, and you just see that burst of energy, and it has almost like a Final Fantasy power up, like going aura around it. There's just something so charming to me about that. I love this game's style. It's a world that you want to be in and you want to hang out in. I love it.
Yeah. And you really have to pay attention to the course design because they all have turns. And depending on, when you use the stylus to place your horse in a different position, if you're going into a turn and it's a wide turn, you'll have a wider area that you'll be able to move in. But if you're going to a very small turn, you have it's like a sliver of space you can be in without losing energy, because anything outside of this perfect little area it will lose you energy and will hurt you in that final stretch. So there's just like you said, there's so many different systems here. There's a lot to consider, but once you play it and once you understand it all, it just all clicks. It's kind of like driving a car. I could not drive a car for a year. I get back into that thing, I'll drive just fine. This is kind of the same thing. It took me like 2 minutes to get reassociated with everything I'm supposed to do in this game. That I was back to winning races, and except in the post growth mode where I just lose 3 right in a row. Like, God, I really got to fix that.
Yeah, there's something they do a really good job of elegantly making all of those systems work, and I think if you because it's like a simplified version of solitaire, it's not real solitaire, because everything is so snappy. It doesn't take, it doesn't take a long time to just kind of, it's like putting on an old jacket, like it's like, I just fell right back into it after all this time. And, even playing it for the first time, like, I think that a lot of people, I think the game does a good job of not overcomplicating things for first time players. It's a lot of heady concepts that sound really, intimidating on paper. But I think that as you kind of give it a chance and just surrender yourself to the horse craziness, you'll just sort of fall into it and have a great time and get addicted. There's the gameplay loop, as we've said, is so addictive, and I don't know. I love everything they're going for with this game, and it's the kind of thing that I wish you could see how this could translate well to something like the Nintendo Switch. And even though it's so much more immediate to be able to like use the touch screen for the solitaire and stuff, you could see how like they could figure that out with like a control pad and bring something like that to the Nintendo Switch. And I mean, I know that's not financially plausible because you and I are the only people talking about this game right now. But I would love to see this series continue, and I would love to see, even if they just took this and put it on Switch, I would just love to have a way to play that on modern hardware.
Well, in Japan, it did release on mobile.
Oh,
so
cool.
they do have a one screen version of this game because it would work perfectly with one screen. It's great with two
Right.
screens. It would absolutely work with one screen. I just think it's, as you said, we're the only people talking about this. I don't think very many people have talked about it in the last 6 years since it launched.
No.
So it's not one of the more popular, memorable Game Freak titles, but they make billions of dollars every time they release a new Pokemon game, just for a little cash at putting this on the Switch. Just
Yeah.
If the Onion Games guy can port Moon to Switch,
Right.
I mean, come on, just throw us a bone here.
You could throw us a bone. You could put Pocket Card Jockey. It wouldn't be that expensive. How expensive could it be to port Pocket Card Jockey over there? I'm completely ignorant speaking here with no knowledge of how any of that works. But how hard could it be, right? I don't know. I think go ahead. Sorry.
I'd say it would have to be pretty inexpensive because, as you know, they reuse a lot of the animations, and if you reuse animations, boy, I can't believe they charge $70 for that.
Yeah, they're very familiar with that discourse, right? I have to imagine too that like I think about the way that you can integrate like online stuff if you were able to do like some multiplayer matches, online leaderboards and stuff like that. That'd be so cool if they figured that out and sort of cracked that nut and really kind of brought Pocket Card Jockey to the Switch. And there's got to be a small but passionate fan base of people who would be here for that. I would be so down to see them kind of like take Pocket Card Jockey to the next level. But it's just gonna have to exist as this one little perfect thing. The thing that really makes me sad about this game, though, CJ, is that it is digital only on 3DS. Yep. And so one day it's not going to exist. And that really kind of makes me sad. I wish they had released this game physically so I could just have it forever. And just, one day those servers are going to be shut off and there's just not going to be Pocket Card Jockey. And that upsets me.
There are a few games that will make me never get rid of this.
Yes.
The Professor Layton series and Pocket Card Jockey are right at the top of that list.
Yep. Yeah,
I just love it so much, and I'm like you. I wish, like, even if it was a full price $39.99 game, I would have paid for it.
Yeah. It's worth it because I don't know about you, but I was going in there and looking at, the 3DS has your play activity. Pocket Card Jockey in my log is like pretty close to the top. Um,
Really?
it is topped only by like Animal Crossing and Tamagotchi Life, I think, are the only games I've played more than Pocket Card Jockey.
I'm pretty sure Animal Crossing is right at the top of mine. I put, I
Yes.
don't know, probably 200 hours in that. I'm really curious about where this game sits for
Yeah,
me, and now I'm gonna have to look it up.
gonna have to pull it up. Yeah, I for me, like I put like 700 hours into New Leaf, and then like right under it was Tamagotchi Life at like 500 something. But I've put like over 200 hours into Pocket Card Jockey somehow. I'm like, where did that time go? And I think back to it, and it really is just, on commutes and airplanes and stuff. Like that was my constant companion. And actually, when I teased the episode on Twitter, that was what I was hearing a lot of, was like Pocket Card Jockey. Oh man, like this was totally, my airplane game. This was my bus game, and it's so perfect for that. Did you find it?
So I put 10 hours into the demo.
That alone tells you,
For the actual game, 96 hours.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
my average play time is 2 hours. So like that game would hook me every single time I play. I could not put it down until something pulled me away from it.
Yep. That my average play time was just over 3 hours. Yeah. Same boat. Same boat. It's like every time you pick it up, you just can't put it down. What a special game. And I love, I love that Game Freak can do something like that. And I want to see them experiment more. I know everybody's all talking about Pokemon Legends right now, and I am too. I'm enjoying it and stuff like this, but the whole time in the back of my head, I'm just thinking about those horses, man. I'm just thinking about the horses racing on the track, and I'm like, what could have been with Pocket Card
Chubby
Jockey?
horses with their tiny little legs.
Oh,
I
it's
love
so
the design.
cute.
They're so cute.
They're so cute.
If anything, a reason to want this game to be popular would just to get a lot of plushes of those horses,
Oh my
especially the one with the
gosh.
cat as a tail.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's another thing too, is they inject a lot of like personality into the designs of the horses. I mean, they the characters themselves are kind of like loud and, Japanese and bombastic and stuff like this and rhythm heaven-ish. But the horses themselves have some really cute and unique designs too. They get a lot of mileage out of that concept, and it's not, it kind of toes that line of like very like cutesy and merchandisable, but also like there's some really like cool designs. There's some kind of like more unique designs like you were just talking about, and that's just another element of the game. It's the random element of like the kind of like roguelike stuff you were talking about, the randomness of solitaire. You get almost that delicious gachapon thing of like what's, when I turn the horse crank, I guess, what horse is going to come out. There's a little bit of that in there, and I just, what a pleasurable like loop to that entire game. Just it is designed to be addictive.
And just so we make sure we mention it, the shop in this game
Yes.
is insane. The first time, like you have this shop that you can go and you can buy these tools that will help you in the race. So like you can buy a carrot, and that carrot will give your horse more stamina, so that at the end of the race you'll have a better chance of coming in first.
Right.
The prices on these items are out of this world. The first time you buy them, it's like, oh, this carrot's 300 coins. Oh, that's easy. I have 300 coins. Let me just buy that. And the next time you go to the shop, that carrot is 18,000 coins. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. I think the gachapon for the puzzle pieces, I think, is like 10 grand for
it
one.
Is 10,000 each piece. And I think you can get a piece you already got, which makes it even more frustrating.
You can get repeat pieces. It's like, what are you doing to me, man? The economy in this game is broken. Everything is so expensive. It's like real life now. Oh, my
I'm pretty
goodness.
sure the shop is the reason I gave it a 9.5 out of 10 instead of a 10 out of 10, just because of how much that annoyed the heck out of me.
That's fair. Yeah, that's insane. I wonder what the I would love the opportunity to interview somebody about that game, because I do wonder about certain little things I would love to like be able to pick their brains about. Man, what a special game though. And just one that I It's just one of those evergreen games, like you said, that like it's never going to leave my 3DS. And I recommend for folks, like, this is a lot of times I'll cover games on this show that are not readily accessible. And for now, in this moment in time, Pocket Card Jockey is. You can still go on the 3DS eShop and buy it. I want to say it's $6.99, somewhere in that range.
Like that. Something really, really inexpensive.
Super. It's like under $10. And again, just a special game that you can sink a ton of time into. And I can't recommend it highly enough. And just give it a chance. You know, if it sounds like the kind of thing that isn't your cup of tea, maybe it's not. It's not for everybody. But I think that a lot of people would be surprised at how much they love this weird little horse racing solitaire game.
Yeah. And, you know, especially if that demo is still available.
That's true too.
The perfect way to try it out. I know we had a bunch of people in the comments on my review said I tried the demo, I got hooked, I bought it. So, like, if you don't think it's for you, just looking at it, just based on what we said, you can at least play it, try it out, and see if it is. If that demo's still available, I don't know if it is. The eShop is way too slow for me to check during the show. So
yeah, that's fair. Yeah, no, it's if that demo's still available, hey, that's a risk-free free way to first hits free for Pocket Card Jockey. And I mean, even if not though, I mean, it's just like a few dollars. It's a pretty low buy-in, and I recommend giving it a shot. If anything at all that we have said about this game for the past half hour has intrigued you, made your ears perk up, then I recommend at least giving it a shake, because you may wind up on the other side of 100 hours and thank me later.
Exactly.
Awesome. Well, CJ, was there any kind of final thoughts about Pocket Card Jockey? Anything you wanted to make sure we brought up before we wrap up?
Do you have any favorite horse names that you gave or that you've seen?
Oh gosh, I saw there was one that was a one-up mush that I saw. That was pretty good. Gosh, I always named horses after like stupid things in my real life. And like there's a whole, it's interesting too, because there's a whole discourse going on that I've been seeing on Twitter about nicknaming your Pokemon. So it kind of has like a similar thing to it, where it's like, what are you going to nickname your horse? One Up Mush is probably a standout for me, and I can't remember. I don't know if that's one that I saw and incorporated, or if it's one that was just randomly generated. But I thought that was cute as like a little Nintendo nod.
And there are a lot of those in the game too. I think I saw one was like name to get, but it's like you punch the block and the coin comes out. I guess that's where they got it from.
Oh, sure.
I saw the one that was Hotel Yorba. I don't know what that's a reference. Like I know what that is, or I've heard that before. I have no idea what it's a reference to though.
There's always weird ones.
I went back and I checked the names that I used to do, because I saw about all my old horses. It's really dumb things. I think I named one "See You Next Tuesday." Like, just really inappropriate things.
Sure.
All the ones I had this time, I named after whatever was a meme at the time. So I have a horse that's breeding right now named West Elm Caleb. So
I have all kinds of like random little things that I would name after, like I said, either things in my personal life, or like just dumb stuff that would pop into my head. I had one, so my handle on most stuff for a long time has been $2 Hero. So I have my $2 Hero. I've got there's one that was like spicy chicken or something about spicy chicken, because he had like his mane looked like it was flames,
right?
Like
right.
And so I it was like spicy crispy chicken or something like that. So just like dumb stuff. I would just, there was no rhyme or reason, no method in my madness. But yeah, they just fun, and you always see those dumb names in horse races anyway, right?
Exactly.
So,
yeah.
Nothing's off the table. Nothing's off the table.
And it just adds to the charm, because like you said, you see it in real life. You go to a track and you have horses with fun names, and it's just like, oh good, I'm so glad they captured that part here.
Yes. Awesome. Well, yeah, CJ, thank you so much for coming on and chatting about Pocket Card Jockey. What a treat. I never get to talk about this game. So what a treat to sit here and just gush about Pocket Card Jockey, a game that will be a totemic presence on my 3DS until the end of time. Shy Guy City here in the chat says, thank God my wife is making dinner. These spicy chicken horse drops are killing me. So Man, this has been so fun. Thanks for everybody who came out and hung out and chat and watched live. CJ, plug yourself, man. Where can people follow you online and keep up with you?
Destructoid.com is probably the main place. I have Twitter, but I don't use it. So just
Sure
follow,
you do. Sure you do.
I delete everything after a day unless it's Destructoid related. So yeah. What is it? CJ is bad at life. I think that's my handle on Twitter. But mostly I do a bunch of writing on Destructoid, and I have an article coming out on Monday about Hotel Dusk. So
cool.
If you're a fan of that, look out for that article. So 15 years since Hotel Dusk.
Holy moly. Somebody was just talking to me about Hotel Dusk in my in the All In Discord recently. It was about because I think their AI is like getting either a new game or is getting re-released or something like that.
Getting a sequel.
A sequel, that's what it is. Yeah, somebody was just talking about that and Hotel Dusk came up. So cool.
Hotel Dusk always comes up for me. I'm always talking about that game. So
that's like me and Suda51. That just happens. Suda51 randomly gets brought up in conversation whenever I'm around. So kind of known for that. But so we'll be on the lookout for some new writing from CJ on Destructoid. You guys will of course find links to everything CJ and Destructoid in the episode description. We appreciate everybody for coming out. Again, CJ, thank you for, I guess there was some lag on the stream or something. I don't know. Hopefully that smoothed out as we were going. But thanks for coming out and again being brave and coming on the maiden voyage, being the first guest of 2022 for Keep Nintendo Weird. Talking about this special game, doing it live. I really appreciate it, man. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me. It wasn't nearly as scary as I thought it would be doing it live, but this was fun, and I can't wait to do it again. We'll have to find another strange game to tackle in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure something will come up. That was the big thing too. Is like Pocket Card Jockey came up in the last time when we had you on Part-Time UFO. You brought up Pocket Card Jockey, and I think I just gasped because I was like, somebody else likes Pocket Card Jockey. So you were the first person that came to mind when I knew I wanted to do this episode. So
awesome.
Anyway, thanks so much again, folks. Again, you'll find everything CJ. Support him, support Destructoid, and everything CJ is doing. Go buy Pocket Card Jockey on the Nintendo 3DS eShop and have yourself a grand old time. We will see you 100+ hours later. And you can reach out to me on Twitter at KNW Podcast or at $2 Hero. And until next time, everybody, create what you want to create. Thank you so much for coming out live or watching on YouTube or listening on the podcast feeds. And thank you for helping me keep Nintendo weird. Bye.